What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This here is Legitical Response, folks, and I got some more leftist insanity coming in for y'all. This time I got Joy Reid, and you can tell when somebody is a fascist, when somebody is, I'm sorry, not a fascist, a Marxist. These people are outright racist. They hate white people, and they'll get out there and tell you they hate white people, but this person specifically really hates this country, it seems like, although under the guise of, oh, she loves this country, but yeah, hang on. Yeah, what you're saying doesn't make any sense. Check this out, y'all.
I do believe that this election is a litmus test for American tolerance for fascism. The elements of fascism are rooted in this nationalistic drive for more babies for the state, for a strongman-driven nation, and a deep sort of state-based religiosity. So I do believe we have a media problem, and we do have some of our media that is leading people toward fascism. The question of America has become too soft and feminine. I think that is it's a fascist litmus test. So this question of whether the society is too soft and feminine, it was alarming to me that a majority of Hispanic Protestants agree, but that's not shocking. Immigrants are poisoning the blood of the country. This is one of the most terrifying things that you've heard a presidential candidate say, because it is straight out of Mein Kampf. 23% of Jewish respondents agree with that, because that's straight out Nazi talk.
Okay, so from right off the jump, like her saying, you know, we do have a replacement problem in this country, lady, and we don't make babies for the state. That is something a Marxist would say, as a matter of fact. That's not why we make babies. We make babies because that's what humans do. They don't make them for the government. That's what a Marxist would think, right? These people are outright insane. And then to go on to say that it's a litmus test for fascism. Like, huh? What are you talking about here? Oh, she's talking about Trump being a fascist. And, oh, her proof for this is, oh, well, Donald Trump said poisoning the blood of the country. No. Yeah, he was talking about Democrats were poisoning the blood of the country. See, when you put it into the context, the correct context, because he's not actually talking the same thing that Hitler was talking about here. And we've discussed this before, so I'm not going to get too far off into the weeds, but you love how she says 23% of Jewish respondents agree. Only 23%. That's not a very big percentage, because the vast majority, what would that be? 77% of people will hear that clip and be like, you're insane. Yeah, that's what she didn't tell you. 77% of Jewish respondents said, you're insane, lady. What are you talking about? Because anybody that listens to that, I've played that clip several times. Anybody that listens to that will be like, oh, hang on. He said Democrats are poisoning the blood of the country, not the immigrants. It's the Democrats doing it. And plus, we all know that what Hitler was talking about was actual blood and not the country itself. He was talking about Germans intermixing with Jews. That's what Hitler was discussing. He wasn't talking about immigrants coming into the country, for crying out loud. But these people, they have to manipulate you any single way they can. So they take this and mix it all around and then try to use these big words. Oh, it was a litmus test. Well, like, what are you trying to say with this? I know you think Donald Trump is a fascist, but where is your proof for this? Is your only proof that, hang on, he said the same thing Hitler did? Used 3 words, poisoning the blood. Like, okay, so we've got some issues here. Like, these people are just outright insane, if you ask me. Like, I just can't get over that. It's just crazy, but we've got some other stuff to get into, so let's get past that, and let's get into some news right quick, because everybody is talking about the Kamala Harris interview. And honestly, folks, it's a slow news day, so if y'all could do me a big favor, smash that like button for me, subscribe to this channel if you're new around here, and share this video anywhere and everywhere you can, because that's the only way to get me out of the box that YouTube has placed me in. So, Smash that like button, y'all. But let's get into this right quick. And let's talk about the, I don't know, disastrous Kamala Harris interview on Fox News last night. Because that thing, holy crap, man, it just exacerbated the issues going on. Have you guys looked at Polymarket? The betting odds in general. Like, go check those out. It's outright insane from a month ago. It's nuts. But let's get into this. And I've got some clips for you guys. So let's check it out. Vance rips Harris over change platform. Who are they turning the page on? That's what I would love to know. Like, I saw that thing and I'm like, hang on. What is she talking about? Turning the page. Well, hang on, let me listen a little bit more. But the more she speaks, the more confused everybody is on exactly what she's saying here.
Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we have been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other. Rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Madam Vice President, more than 70% of people
that is
tell
about
pollsters,
turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than 70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade, people
you're the
have
lever of
become.
power.
But listen. Over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president, one, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
Okay, so did anybody get anything from that except for Orange Man bad? That's all she has to say. That's anything and everything that she ever says. Donald Trump is bad. Donald Trump is this. Donald Trump is that. She constantly talks about Donald Trump is running a fear campaign. What the hell are they doing? I don't see Donald Trump running the same fear campaign. He talks about immigration. He talks about taxes. He talks about drill, baby, drill. He wants to unleash American energy. What does she talk about? Nonsense. Vapid, garbled nonsense. That's all she ever says. And it blows my freaking mind. She can't answer a question, folks. And I don't know if it's on purpose or if it's accidental. Is she that stupid? Because she really comes off as very, very dumb, if you ask me. Right? Like, I had given her a compliment not that long ago when she first got propelled to the nominee. right? Her speeches changed outright. She started talking normal. She wouldn't talk in rhymes anymore, like the wheels on the bus go round and round, and the wheels go down the road because the bus goes down the road. And when the bus goes down the road, everybody that's on the bus goes down the dang road, and the bus turns. And because it turns, we turn with it. It's like she changed from that to, hang on, what is she saying exactly? We can't understand what the hell she says. The polls show it. Polymarket shows it. All the betting markets show it. It is getting outright ridiculous what she is doing. And it begs the question, is she doing this on purpose? Now, this could go back to something that I've surmised before. Maybe she's just trying to pander to idiots, right? By just constantly saying, Trump is bad, Trump is bad, Trump is bad, Trump is bad. Pandering to all these people that just think Trump is bad. That may be it. Because if we're going to have a conversation, right, about what her policies are, at the end of this thing, I don't know if you guys watched it or not, but she says, go to her website. She's got 80 pages of garbled nonsense. She didn't say that exactly. I said that because, yeah, I tried to go read it and it's garbled nonsense. There is no actual implementations of policy in there. I didn't read all the way through it, to be honest with you, so blah, 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 blah. But let's get back to the news article right quick, because I totally forgot, to be honest with you, that I had that pulled up. Check it out. J.D. Vance rips into her. Check it out. Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance on Thursday excoriated Vice President Kamala Harris for presenting herself as a change candidate without acknowledging her ties to President Joe Biden and his administration. You heard it in the clip. She said this is not going to be a continuation of Joe Biden's administration. I don't know if you guys caught that part. But when asked what would she do differently over the past 4 years, that's what she comes up with. I'm not Donald Trump. We're going to remember that the entire theme of her campaign is basically her pretending that she doesn't even know who Joe Biden is, Vance said at an event in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Don't pay attention that high inflation. Don't pay attention to that wide open southern border, because Kamala Harris will tell you it's not her fault. She's never even seen Joe Biden. That's what she'll go out there and tell people. Yeah, no, what she'll go out there and tell people is, look, the American people have aspirations about the future. And if we're going to discuss aspirations, I need to tell you about the opportunity economy, which is an economy that we're going to make to where everybody has an opportunity to be successful. And success is based upon opportunities from the aspirations that you have. It's all circuitous. Every single freaking bit of it is circuitous. She just comes right back around to what the hell she was talking about. This is a master class on how to filibuster. That's exactly what it is. On how to say nothing while still talking. Kind of like what I'm doing right now, except, you know. And anybody with a lick of common sense is saying, Kamala, day one was 1,400 days ago. What the hell you been doing that whole time, he went on. Vance specifically took issue with the Harris's recent interview on Fox News with Bret Baier, which saw her struggle to account for her vice presidential tenure. Yeah, she didn't discuss anything that she's done, right? Like, when they come in on the immigration situation.
Went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate,
I'm
and they
in the
didn't bring
middle
up
of
that bill.
responding to the point you're raising,
Okay.
and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
No one seems to know this, but Amazon actually has a $50 million fund that they have to pay out.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress.
Okay, so let's get some facts out on the table right quick. Okay, so Donald Trump loves to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. Okay, so when Donald Trump comes in, the first thing he does is he starts trying to get some legislation to build the wall. He finally, through a lot of work, Congress turning him down, finally gets it done and gets the wall start being built. That doesn't sound like running on a problem. That sounds like solutions to a problem. You look at the numbers. The border crossings started going down under Donald Trump almost immediately. Now, that sounds like fixing a problem and not running on a problem, right? He created all these very interesting policies like Remain in Mexico. When that policy came into fruition, right? The border crossings, the illegal border crossings, dropped significantly. And they stayed pretty damn low for a pretty good little while, right? They rose up a little bit right before COVID, but then they came back down. They've been significantly lower than under the Biden administration. As a matter of fact, 2 of the 4 years Donald Trump was in office, his yearly border crossings rivaled Joe Biden's monthly border crossings. That's insanity right there. So now let's get off of Donald Trump, because that was nonsense garbage, what she was just spitting right there. Okay, so let's go into them. They want to run on the problems. Now, she says the first thing they came in and did was to offer a solution to fix the broken immigration system. Now, Joe Biden rescinded 90 executive orders of Donald Trump that specifically dealt with the border. He rescinded all of them, all 90 of those. Immediately, border crossings start to spike. But she says, we come in and offered legislation to fix the problem. Okay, so if you really did that, how come border crossings started to spike? How come they spiked, went to record highs, and stayed there for 3.5 years? That doesn't sound like solutions to me. Then she wants to go into that garbage legislation, once again, to fix a problem by saying, okay, so we got a bunch of illegal crossings here. Let's just make those legal so people can just cross the border and it not be a criminal charge to fix the problem. Yeah, okay, so technically, I mean, that's like a 3-year-old's way to fix it, right? Like, I'm sure a 3-year-old would just say something like, why don't you build a wall? And instead, they allow millions upon millions of people to come into the country, creating a crisis. It's a self-inflicted crisis. That doesn't sound like running on a solution, does it? Not at all. Doesn't sound like that whatsoever. Then they want to go in on that legislation, like I was talking about, to just make it legal to cross the border illegally, which makes absolutely no sense. That's outright ridiculous. But let's keep going and finish this little article out right quick. So Brett Baer asked her, well, the American people were saying they want to turn the page. And that is, in fact, the theme of your campaign. They want to turn the page. Well, who are they turning the page on, Vance said, because you've been vice president for the past 3.5 years, and you know what she said. She started talking about Trump. He went on. She is pathologically incapable of talking about the American future without talking about a person who hasn't been president for 3.5 years. He's totally right about that, and that's all to that article. And we already went over all that. If I would have known that was like that. I didn't read that whole article. I'm sorry, y'all, but I got some more clips for you guys. Okay, so what she does right here in this clip coming up is a blatant misdirection is what she's doing. She's totally obfuscating what Brett Baer says, totally ignored what he says. I don't know if it's stupidity or if she's doing it on purpose, but you would have to think it's on purpose because, you know, you can't get a law degree and be that stupid, right? Check this out.
American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
well, he was asked about that
No,
specific...
that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you,
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake.
Okay, see, that seems to me like it's totally on purpose because he's trying to clarify. He's like, no. We asked him about what he said, and this was his response. And she's like, no, you didn't play the clip. Like, what are you trying to say here, lady? This is what he's asking you. This is an interview of you. You're not interviewing him. You're not trying to make a point. You're trying to explain your position. You're trying to show the American people why they should vote for you, give you a promotion for crying out loud. Like, why are you misdirecting and misleading to gaslight people? Because that's exactly what she's doing. She's gaslighting you. It's intentional. It's manipulative. And that's exactly what she's talking about. She wants to talk about how bad Donald Trump is. Now, I will go into that quote because what Donald Trump was saying was in response to something Joe Biden said. But none of these people, no left-wing pundits will tell you that. Joe Biden said he doesn't think that Election Day is going to be violence-free. That's what he said, not verbatim, but that's the gist of what he said. He said there's going to be some violence on Election Day. And Trump comes in and says, look, it's not going to be from us. Once again, this is not verbatim. It's not going to be from the right wing. It's going to be coming from these left-wing nut jobs. Because 2 left-wing nut jobs just tried to assassinate him. So, of course, he's going to think that way. Right? And what he's talking about is riots. You can clearly get that from what he says. Now, once again, I will say I wish Trump spoke more clearly. He's a lot more clear than she is. But Trump, the way he talks, sometimes you got to interpret what he says. Left-wing pundits interpret it way differently than from what we interpret what he says. What we interpret what he says is a lot closer to reality than what they do, because they will twist it around on purpose, once again. But what Donald Trump is saying is that if there's going to be any violence whatsoever, it's going to come from the left. It's not going to come from the right. And if we need to, if necessary, and they love to leave that part out, or they'll just say, oh, if necessary, they'll just say it quickly off to the side just to be factual about it. But that if necessary right? And she's getting pissed off right here. She's getting so just bent out of shape. He's talking about this. He's talking about that. And then she starts talking about going after people that disagree with him. And now, what she's saying is, once again, a misrepresentation of what Trump said. What Trump said was that the collusion between CBS and the Harris campaign should be illegal because of what they did with that 60 Minutes interview. They colluded. They put out a quick clip, and then the actual interview was totally different. You couldn't find that clip anywhere in that interview. And come to find out, CBS altered the interview and changed it around because the campaign asked them to do so. That's collusion. Trump is saying that should be illegal. He didn't say anything about putting anybody in jail or anything like that. He said it should be illegal, which kind of insinuates to put them in jail. But hey, I totally agree with that. That should be illegal. It should be frowned upon at the very, very least. Because we shouldn't have the mainstream news colluding with a campaign to gain an outcome for that campaign. In a democracy. Like, I can't stand that. She said, this is a democracy. No, it's not. It's a constitutional republic, lady. Get it right. We use democratic means to vote in our representatives, for crying out loud. Right? Because we have an electoral college, for goodness sakes. That is not democracy, for crying out loud. We vote, and that goes to an electoral college. That is actions of a republic. It's democratic means to get to a solution. Then it's just so weird how these people say, oh, it's a democracy. No, it's not. We are not a democracy, for crying out loud. And I don't know how many times I have to say that. Direct democracy would be absolute chaos everywhere. We wouldn't need Congress at all if we had a direct democracy, because everybody would vote on that. It would be tyranny of the minority. That is right. Tyranny of the minority, because everybody would be so different on everything that the vast majority of people would agree. But, because this certain small group had a bigger percentage of whatever legislation. It's just insane when you work this all out in your head, how that works out. But that's what the experts say, at least. But this lady, I don't know what the hell is going on with this. I pray to God that she loses, right? We got shadow campaigns, so you can never forget about the shadow campaign. But it's like, once again, she says some of the most vapid, garbled nonsense I think I've ever heard in my entire life. Anything of substance that she talks about is Orange Man is bad. Have you guys noticed that? Let me know down in the comment section if you've noticed that. It's just getting outright Looney Tunes up in here. Right? I mean, who runs for a presidential campaign and can't explain her policy positions on anything? Redirects. Starks talking about the other guy so much. Why can't you talk about yourself and what you want to do? What do you mean opportunity economy? I would love for her to explain that. Oh, is that the $50,000 you want to give to small business to help start up a small business? How are you going to pay for that, lady? What, are you going to tax the rich to do it? Yeah, I'd love to see that. That's just nuts. And it's very unfair if you ask me. Look, hey, all you people out there like, tax the rich. I can't stand that. That's one of the most unfair things. Make all the arguments you want, but you can't argue it's not fair to tax everybody at the exact same rate. Percentage of your income. It's totally fair. Now, I understand why we don't do that exactly, why we do it at different rates, corporate rates, corporate business tax, and all this other garbage. I understand why that's different. I don't think it should be nearly as high as it is, but I don't think taxing the rich more, because when you break it down, right, the rich already pay, as far as dollar-wise, a whole hell of a lot more than we do, right? Like, I think, if I remember the numbers correctly, the top 1% pay like, I think 52% of taxes. The top 20% pay like 87% of taxes. That is insane, y'all. And a quick Google search can tell you that number. All right, it's just outright nuts. The top 20% pay 87% of taxes, and you say they're not paying their fair share. Holy crap. Have you lost your freaking mind? That sounds unfair to me, but that's because these people make a lot more money. They get taxed at the same percentage, blah, 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 blah. Of course, you're going to end up paying more dollars. Sure, they pay a lot more in, so they get a lot more write-offs. So what? Who cares about that, right? I'm not some rich guy. I'm not well off. I'm barely scraping into the middle class here. Barely. I probably fluctuate back and forth due to how much money I make, to be honest with you. And I don't think that the rich paying their fair share, I already believe they do. I already believe they do. And that's just my personal opinion. Let me know what your opinion is. But this person, don't know how she got to this position. This is one of those situations where she has failed all the way to the top. How you do that, I have no freaking clue. But, you know, she didn't get there on her own merits. And it shows. It outright shows. It's plain to see for everybody. But y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.